Welcome to the Becoming Mind Strong podcast, and this is part 3 of 3 in the 3 stages of fat loss. The same way that I opened part 2 of this. If you have not listened to parts 1 and 2, 1 gazillion out of 10, it's getting higher every time. Check those out first, because if you do not understand, most importantly, the healing stage, part 1, if you jump straight to the fat loss stage, because let's be honest, that's what we all want to do, right? Which was part 2, then this part 3, is not going to make as much sense. I will say that listening to part 1 before part 2 is the most important part in this process, but this part today, part 3, is going to make a world of more sense, if you've listened to those first 2 parts. So in the 3 stages of fat loss, and as a reminder, I'm using the word fat, not weight, very intentionally. If you have not listened to my podcast episode about the scale, go back and listen to it, because what the scale is measuring is the force of gravity on the scale. If you chug 2 glasses of water and get on the scale, it's going up. And it's comical to think, did I just gain 2 pounds of fat because I drank water? Absolutely not. Bloat, inflammation, water weight, you name it, it impacts the scale. What we are here talking about is fat loss. So in the first part, we talked about the part that I see with 99% of the peri and postmenopausal women that we work with, and that is the healing stage. If your metabolism is not healed, it will be physically impossible for you to lose fat without a drug like Ozempic. And if you go on a drug like Ozempic, sure, you're going to lose weight really quickly. And I'm saying weight there because you're also going to lose a ton of muscle mass. And you're going to be right back here asking me how to heal your metabolism in 6 months or a year. Do not recommend 0 out of a gajillion. Part 1, we have to heal your metabolism. Part 2, we talked about the part we actually want to do, right? People, we don't want to go through the healing part. It's a necessary step. And most importantly, I shouldn't say we don't want to. We just don't want it to be as slow and tedious. Most importantly, the healing stage is one and done. Once we get to the fat loss stage, hands in the air, hallelujah. There's no wishing, hoping, praying. When you follow your plan, you will lose fat. It's how the human body is designed. What we're going to talk about in the third part of this series right now is what happens next. I call it the, one day I'll have a better term for it, but I call it the whatever the heck you want to do next stage. And that's what we're going to dive into deep today. Check it out. So what do I mean when I say whatever the heck you want to do? When it comes to our bodies, when it comes to nutrition, you've heard me say a million times, when you do this correctly, there's no wishing, hoping, praying involved. The beauty of mastering nutrition as a skill is that you are in control. You are in the driver's seat. You've heard me say in the past episodes, I always think of this control board. Maybe it's my nerdy musician days. I'm picturing little knobs that we can increase sound, decrease sound. We are in control of those little knobs. Once we have a metabolism that is healed, we get to decide, what do I want to do next? Right? You heard me talk about in the past parts of this series that sometimes after the healing stage, I'll ask people, do you want to take a little mental break? Do you want to just hang here for a little bit at maintenance? We'll talk more about what maintenance means in this episode. Or do you want to get straight into fat loss? The way that I'm talking about that, it's a choice, right? It's not, what does my body want to do today? It's, what do you want to do next? We're in the driver's seat. We're the ones controlling these knobs. You want to turn the volume up? You want to turn the volume down, right? We don't get in our car and say, I hope the car decides to turn the volume up today. Or, I hope that it lets me turn the volume down. You're the one driving the car. You control the knobs. This is the position we put ourselves in with our nutrition. So that's why when we get to the healing stage, we can have the conversation. What do you want to do next? You want to hang at maintenance? You want to go into fat loss? You want to go into a bulk and put on some muscle? When I talk about what do you want to do next, I'll talk about what each of those mean more in a second, but this is what I mean. You are in the driver's seat, literally. What would you like to do with your body next? So under the umbrella of what would you like to do with your body next, we have 3 options. 1, we talked about in the last part. We can lose fat. That is what 99.9% of the women I work with want to do. Once in a while, I'll get someone who wants to put on muscle, which is called a bulk, which we'll talk about in a second. Most women are here to lose fat. So we get to the end of the healing stage. I ask them, you want to chill for a bit or you want to get right into fat loss? They're like, are you freaking, the look they give me, we always laugh. And I'm like, all right, I have to ask. They're like, no, like I'm here to lose, X number of pounds. Let's go into fat loss. Cool. We're going to get you into a caloric deficit. This is what we talked about in the last part of this series. We're going to slowly baby step your numbers down, meaning your total calories. We're going to keep the proportions of carbs, fat, protein where your personal body needs it. By the way, if you have never listened to my podcast before, do not use an online macro calculator, especially if you are trying to heal your metabolism. I don't know, maybe there is one out there. I have never seen an online macro calculator that knows how to do, I hate the term reverse diet, but it's called a reverse diet. Do not use a calculator to try to heal your metabolism. I don't even know that it exists. If it does exist, it is wrong. Online macro calculators are not personalized enough. Generic formulas do not work. Okay? But let's say we've healed your metabolism. You're like, yes, I want to go into a fat loss stage. That's what we talked about in the last part of the series. We are going to baby step your numbers down. We are never going to go too low again. Boom. Your body's going to lose fat. Seems like magic, but it's not. It's human biology. It is guaranteed to work as long as you follow your plan. I did a whole podcast episode on how long does this take. The one thing I cannot tell you, and anyone who does tell you is completely BSing you, is how quickly your body's going to respond. I will tell you that if you are doing a lose 30 pounds in 30 days program, you are shooting yourself in the foot. When done correctly, capital C correctly, every letter of that word correctly, weight loss should, purposely using the word I hate needs to be a slow process because we are always thinking about the health of your metabolism. Okay? So option 1 is a fat loss phase. We talked a lot about it in the last section. Option 2 is maintenance, and you've heard me mention it a few times here. Maintenance is a lovely place to be if you have the mindset for playing long ball. Because what maintenance means is we're not really losing weight, we're not really gaining weight. And I'm using the word really in there because if you've hung out with me before, you know that I will shout from the rooftops, the scale is going to fluctuate 1 to 6 pounds every single day. If you're someone who tracks macros, you could be 0, 0, 0, which is not the ultimate goal. You do not have to be zeroing out your macros every day. But in theory, you could be 0, 0, 0 on your macros. The scale is still going to fluctuate 1 to 6 pounds every day. So putting that aside, because we've wrapped our mind around that, we have a million conversations about it. In maintenance, the basic idea is that your calories in match your calories out. We're just kind of hovering. We're not losing weight. We're not gaining weight. And some people hear that and they're like, well, that sounds awful. Aren't I always supposed to be losing weight? I mean, if you want to, but number one, it's not good for your body, right? I talked about this a bit in the past episode. Even if we're doing macros, which are not restrictive in terms of good food, bad food, allowed food, not allowed food, you're still in a caloric deficit, and that's some stress on your body. Our bodies don't like to be under stress, especially in peri and post menopause, where the name of the game is cortisol control. Secondly, if it's, as the time I'm recording this, we're about to go into the holiday season, do you really want to be thinking this much about food in the holiday season? What we don't want to do is be obsessing about everything that we eat. We also don't want to go the other way, which we've spent most of our lives doing for some of us, and going off the deep end and making the holidays a binge fest, gaining the statistical 8-9 pounds, and then feeling like garbage come January 1st. Maintenance is a beautiful place to be because we can just chill a little bit. We have enough food. Our workouts feel great if you're someone who works out. We're not thinking about tracking as meticulously. We can just kind of chill. But the difference with that chill period this time that we've never had before, and I'm going to emphasize this because this is huge, is in the past when we're like, oh, I'm just going to kind of chill. Nothing about that was chill because we were ruminating. We were not in control and we were freaking out about what should I be doing, right? Now in maintenance, it's like, oh no, this is a conscious choice I'm making. If I want to lose fat, I could change my numbers tomorrow. I'm in the driver's seat here. This maintenance is an intentional choice made from a place of education, made from a place of control. So maintenance is an option after we get through the healing stage. It's the one that I choose. Most people don't want to do it, but for myself, absolutely. I want to chill in maintenance for a while. I want to relax. I want to live my life. And when I'm ready to lose a few pounds, I'll go back into the fat loss stage. No harm, no foul. The third stage is called the bulk stage, and it is few and far between. that I meet women who actually want to do a traditional bulk. What a bulk means is that we are going to consciously put more muscle onto our body. Now, most women out there, and again, I'm saying women because we primarily work with women in case that's not clear. And I'm speaking in generalizations because I'm speaking statistically of the 2,500 plus women I've worked with. Most women I talk to say, I want to lose fat and build muscle. They don't actually want to do that. When we have a deeper conversation, what they want to do is lose the fat and have their muscle on their body be stronger and show more. So my favorite analogy for a bulk is this, okay? Let's say you have a glob of clay right in front of you and you want to sculpt it into a bust. You want to make it look like a human. All you need to do, you don't need to add more clay to do that, right? You just start sculpting away. You take your scalpel or whatever that's called. I think it's called a scalpel, and you start peeling away at the clay. You can make it super defined. You can make it super muscly. You just removed the extra clay until you have this beautiful model of a human with all the muscle in the world that you want. Okay? That's what losing fat does. That's what a fat loss stage does. We all have muscle on our body, and we can strengthen that muscle. Well, go back and listen to my podcast about the importance of weight training, especially in peri-post-menopause, and I'll, of course, have more episodes like that coming up. That's what most of us want. We have muscle under there. We want it to be stronger, and then we want to melt the fat away that's covering it. In a bulk, what that means is, let's go back to our clay analogy. You have a lob of clay in front of you. Before you start sculpting, you are going to consciously put more clay onto that blob. We are going to make that blob bigger before we start sculpting. Now, with that, if you've got that visualization in your head, you're going to gain weight in a bulk. You have to. The only way to physically put new muscle on your body is to eat more calories than you burn. Now, there's a controlled way of doing it. I'm a fan of the controlled bulk. Some people do what's called a dirty bulk of like, well, if the point is to get more calories in, I'm going to go eat double cheeseburgers and 3 shakes and an ungodly number of calories because I'm trying to put on weight anyway. I'm not a fan of that because, yeah, you have to put on weight to be in a bulk. You don't have to put on that much weight. We can do it in a controlled way where most of the weight we're putting on is going to muscle, but you are going to put some fat on. It's the nature of the bulk. The beauty is you're going to bulk for a few months. At the other side of it, we're just going to switch gears. You're in control. You control the knobs. We're going to go into a fat loss stage. Now we melt that fat away. We show off all the beautifully sculpted new muscle we put on. Now, I'm going through a bulk kind of quickly because it is few and far between that I actually take women through a bulk. Most people who go through a bulk are either professional bodybuilders or they want to do a bodybuilding competition once just to see what it's like. Then, of course, you're going to go through a bulk. You have to. Or someone who's underweight right now, and not only do they want to get to a healthier weight, but they want to consciously put on muscle while they're getting to a healthier weight. The 99.8% of women that I've worked with do not actually want to bulk. What they want, yes, we want lean sculpted muscles, but that comes from strengthening those muscles and then carving away the clay, so to speak, losing the fat on top of it. But for the purposes of this episode, what I want you to understand is once your metabolism is healed, the reason I call this the whatever the heck you want to do next stage, there's no wishing, hoping, praying, right? When I do take people through a bulk, I will tell you behind the scenes, a bulk is a mind game. You ever consciously tried to put on weight? It is not comfortable. I do this for a living. As of the time of this recording, I've been doing this for a decade. And there have been periods I put myself through a bulk. And I have to talk myself down from it almost every day because when you put your jeans on and they're getting tighter, it doesn't feel good. No matter how long you've been doing this, it doesn't feel good. And the conversation I have with myself is cool. You're doing this because you want to put on new muscle. But if you decide, if you truly right now do not want these jeans to feel tighter, you're in the driver's seat. Let's switch our macros. Let's get into a fat loss stage. You want to do that? And then immediately it's like, no. The whole point of this is put on muscle. Cool. So flex your patience muscle. Buy some bigger jeans for the next few months if you have to. Get through your bulk. And we're in the driver's seat. We're going to switch our macros once we've been in this stage for a while. We're going to go into a fat loss stage. Like, I have that conversation with myself every time I've done a bulk. In the rare instances that we do have a member who wants to go in a bulk, I tell them that up front. We're going to be talking all the time, and it has nothing, like, yes, it has to do with your numbers, but 90% of this is about the mindset, because it is not fun consciously putting on weight, and we have to remind ourselves it's for choice. But you hear the words I'm using, right? Like choice. This is a choice. And the reason we have the choice is because we are in control. And the whole reason that I started this company, Mind Strong Fitness, is because I want to put you in control. When you have the education piece, when you are in the driver's seat, you will never wish and hope and pray and guess and say, oh, I hope this is the thing that works for me. It's like me saying you forget how to ride a bike. If you know how to ride a bike, I don't know how you could forget. You can't unwire your brain from that skill. When you have mastered nutrition as a skill, once your metabolism is healed, what do you want to do, right? What the heck do you want to do next? You want to lose some fat? You want to coast in maintenance? You want to put on some muscle in a bulk? You choose. And we're going to stay in one for a few months, and then we're going to choose again. But you are in the driver's seat. You understand how and why. And if you're sick of doing one and you want to switch to another, we want to stay in one for a few months at a time. This isn't, I'm sorry to tell you, you can't bulk one day and cut and go in a caloric deficit the next, right? It's not like, well, I really want to have 2 pizza pies today, so I'll just call it a bulk, and tomorrow I'm going to go in a deficit. That's not how it works. These are stages that we stay in for a few months. But you are in control. You are making a choice, and you can make that choice because you're in the driver's seat. And this is why everything that I teach in Ignite, our 12-week program, everything that I stand for within Mind Strong Fitness is this education piece. Because just like riding that bike, when you are the master of the skill of nutrition, when you know your personal body inside and out, you will never wish, hope, pray again. It's just a matter of, what do I want to do next? But for the purposes of this 3-part podcast, we have to go in this order. You cannot skip the healing stage unless you're one of the rare people who comes to us and there's not an issue with your metabolism. It happens. We have people who come to us, they're eating, 2,200 calories a day, and they're not an extreme athlete. And it's like, okay, your calories are too high. In that case, we can jump right to the fat loss stage. And it's a lot easier both for them and for coaches, because we get to skip the healing stage. But if you are someone who's already eating 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 calories a day and not losing fat, I hate to have to tell you this, but the good news is it's a one-time thing. We have to go in this order. You have to heal your metabolism first, then we can get to fat loss, then we can get to whatever the heck you want to do next. The beauty is with all of this, you've heard me harp a lot on the fact that healing your metabolism is a one-time thing. Learning this skill, mastering this skill is a one-time thing. Once you understand the skill of nutrition and how your personal body works, that's it. You don't have to come back to me or whoever you choose as your coach and relearn this every year. You've mastered the skill. Now it's a question of, cool, I'll never have to heal my metabolism if I never go that low again, which I hope you won't. So do I want to go to fat loss? Do I want to go to maintenance? Do I want to go into a bulk? You don't need to hire a coach every time you do it. You are in the driver's seat. You are in control. There is never any wishing, hoping, praying involved ever again.